If we're defunding Planned Parenthood, let's just defund it. Don't make contingencies, just get rid of it. Hello and welcome once again to the Lepanto Institute Podcast, Bold and Stupid Men. I'm your host, Michael Hitchborn. Okay, folks, I'm just going to get right into this because I'm very upset and I'm pretty disappointed in the current effort to defund Planned Parenthood. To begin with, the current occupant of the White House, the most radically pro-abortion president to hold the highest office in this land, hasn't even left yet, and already Congress is putting forth limp-wristed legislation against the most reviled abortion factory in the world. H.R. 354, which is operating under the title the Defund Planned Parenthood Act of 2017, was introduced by Representative Diane Black. Now, I looked into Miss Black's background, and she's solid on pro-life legislation, so I'm completely at a loss as to why she would put forth this absolute travesty. Now, the bill starts off with an explanation that there are many different agencies other than Planned Parenthood that provide health services to women, and that many of those agencies provide those services regardless of the person's ability to pay. Okay, I'm not going to get into the morality of those services at this point. This is just a statement of fact. The reason that the bill states this is that it's a prelude to the fact that it's about to announce the defunding of Planned Parenthood, and the legislation is simply trying to say, whatever the reason we have for defunding Planned Parenthood may be, the fact of the matter is that there are plenty of organizations out there that do what Planned Parenthood does, so women will not be denied what Planned Parenthood does by denying funding to Planned Parenthood. Okay, fine. The legislation basically just asserted that defunding Planned Parenthood isn't going to deny women the things that Planned Parenthood provides. But then we get to Section 3. I'm just going to read to you Section 3, subsections A and B. Here's what it says. Section 3, Moratorium on Federal Funding to Planned Parenthood Federation of America. A. In general, for the 1-year period beginning on the date of the enactment of this act, subject to subsection B, no funds authorized or appropriated by federal law may be made available for any purpose to Planned Parenthood Federation of America Incorporated or any affiliate or clinic of Planned Parenthood Federation of America Incorporated. The bill should have just ended there, but it didn't. Unfortunately, it goes on to say, unless such entities certify that Planned Parenthood Federation of America affiliates and clinics will not perform and will not provide any funds to other entities that perform an abortion during such period. So let's just stop right there for a minute, folks. We're supposed to be defunding Planned Parenthood with this bill, right? Why are we making the defunding contingent on whether or not it provides abortions or provides funding to other agencies that provide abortions? If we're defunding Planned Parenthood, let's just defund it. Don't make contingencies, just get rid of it. Planned Parenthood operates approximately 645 centers in the United States, and 356 of them, a little over half, commit surgical and/or medical abortions. Already, the bill calling itself the Defund Planned Parenthood Act of 2017 is exempting a little over 50% of the Planned Parenthood facilities from being defunded. But then, right after this is subsection B, which says, exception. Subsection A shall not apply to an abortion, 1, if the pregnancy is the result of an act of rape or incest, or 2, in the case where a woman suffers from a physical disorder, physical injury, or physical illness that would, as certified by a physician, place the woman in danger of death unless an abortion is performed, including a life-endangering physical condition caused or arising from the pregnancy itself. So, not only are less than 50% of the Planned Parenthood facilities in the country going to be affected by the bill, but now the remaining facilities, the ones that actually do perform abortions, they can also continue to receive federal funding as long as the abortions that they provide are only for cases of rape, incest, or so-called life-threatening cases. Ladies and gentlemen, that is ridiculous. Why make the case at the beginning of the bill that there are plenty of agencies that provide women's services without providing abortions, but then maintain funding for Planned Parenthood facilities that don't perform abortions and claim that you're defunding Planned Parenthood. Oh, and at the same time, then grant exceptions for those facilities that might claim that they're only providing abortions for so-called hard cases. Why bother trying to defund them at all? And this isn't even the worst of it. The next section, Section 4, actually allocates $235 million in funding for community health centers, allowing those facilities to perform abortions under the same allowances provided to Planned Parenthood in Section 3B. Listen to this. Section 4, Funding for Community Health Center Program. A. In general, there is authorized to be appropriated $235 million for the Community Health Center Program under Section 330 of the Public Service Health Act. There is authorized to be appropriated $235 million for the Community Health Center Program under Section 330 of the Public Health Service Act, in addition to any other funds available for such program for the period for which the funding limitation under Section 3A applies. Subsection B. Limitation. None of the funds authorized or appropriated pursuant to subsection A may be expended for an abortion other than as described in Section 3B. In other words, not only will Planned Parenthood not be defunded, but $235 million will be going to community health centers that perform abortions under the exact same set of exceptions. The entire bill is completely self-defeating. But this is what happens when organizations like the National Right to Life beat a constant message of "you can't pass legislation without exceptions" into the heads of politicians for 40 years. But this is the problem with people who put politics and scheming above faith. Rather than counting rosary beads, these politicians are counting heads to see if they have enough votes to pass their flaccid legislative measures. But Catholics don't count heads. Catholics don't measure cost. Catholics stand in the gap and refuse to yield to evil. And you know what happens when Catholics do that? Even in the face of insurmountable odds, victory happens. Here are a few examples. After World War I, the Russian communists took over Austria. To shake off the yoke, a Franciscan priest named Father Peter Pavlasek organized a rosary crusade in 1948. It began on September 12th, the feast of the Holy Name of Mary. Father Peter asked for a tithe of rosaries. In other words, he asked that 10% of all the Austrians pledge to pray the rosary daily until the Soviets left the country. The people of Austria responded generously. They prayed for 7 years. And then on May 13, 1955, the Soviets mysteriously just packed up and left peacefully. In 1960, Pope John XXIII authorized the Bishop of Fatima to write to all the bishops of the world, inviting them to join with pilgrims of Fatima on the night of October the 12th and October the 13th of that year to pray the rosary for peace and for Russia's conversion. 300 dioceses around the world united themselves in prayer with nearly 1 million pilgrims who spent the night outdoors in bone-chilling rain before the Blessed Sacrament praying the rosary. That very night, the Soviets conducted a test of its new long-range nuclear missile. That missile unexpectedly exploded, killing 300 top military leaders and scientists. This set Russia's nuclear program back by 20 years. In 1962, a woman in Brazil named Dona Amelia Basto organized a rosary campaign to save the country from a communist takeover. She actually recruited 600,000 women to pray the rosary in Sao Paulo for peace. The attempted communist takeover was a failure. In Portugal in 1975, shortly after a national rosary crusade for peace, the communist government in that country was peacefully overthrown. The point is this: the time for playing politics and counting heads is over. Either we fight evil with the full force of our convictions, placing our hope and our trust in our Lord and Lady, praying and sacrificing unceasingly for the defeat of Planned Parenthood and the culture of death, or we throw in the towel. We either defund this beast now, or we give up and go home. Because If God is with us, who can stand against us? I'll close here with the words of Judah Maccabeus. He said, "Victory in war does not depend upon the size of the army, but on strength that comes from heaven. With great presumption and lawlessness, they come against us to destroy us and our wives and children and to despoil us. But we are fighting for our lives and our laws. He will crush them before us, so do not fear them." The time to defund Planned Parenthood in its entirety is now. Don't be fooled by those playing political games, but pray the rosary for victory, and Our Lady will see us through. And with that, this is all the time that we have for today. We are completely reliant upon your donations, so if you enjoy these podcasts and appreciate the work that we do at the Lepanto Institute, please consider making a tax-deductible donation by going to www.lepantoinstitute.org/donate. God bless you.